So for Tesla, there's some concern that Elon being so active politically that's hurting their sales. In Germany, uh, their Tesla sales are down 60% versus the last January. This is in Germany. So people are blaming this on Elon, coming out in support of the AfD party in Germany, which is um, more in alignment with what Doge and Trump are about. And so that's a concern. But really, what happened in Germany and all over the world is Tesla, was producing Model Y, the best-selling car in the world, and now they're doing the upgraded Model Y, and to do that, they're switched over all their lines to the upgraded Model Y,
Mhm.
and they can't just snap their fingers and re-ramp at 90 to 100%. It just doesn't happen that way. I know we think, Tesla works miracles, but there's going to be a ramp. It's going to take some time. It may take a couple of quarters. We saw with the Model 3, the upgraded Model 3 in Fremont, that it took several quarters to get back to toward 100% production of, where they were before, um, shifting from the old Model 3 to the new Model 3.
Right.
So it's going to take some time. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if the production and delivery numbers. I don't know where Troy is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it has a three in front of it.
Okay. AJ's at 425, just to
Hmm.
let you know.
Yeah.
So down from 497, something like that.
Yeah. So it's in the 490s in
Right.
the fourth quarter.
Right.
Um, so this is just a function of primarily the Model Y.
Sure.
And um, I think people are also forgetting that Tesla didn't grow last year, their deliveries, and I think part of that was the Model Y was Osborne. I know we talked about it a little bit on the show. You're brave enough to talk about it. We don't talk about the new Model Y, but we you covered it. You and I talked about it, but really a lot of people weren't talking about it because they didn't want Tesla to get further Osborne on a Model Y. And so what that was is you had the new Model 3 in January of 2024 in the US, and people saw how good it was. And then they assumed that those similar changes would come to the Model Y. Upgraded suspension, much quieter, much better seats, just overall,
Backseat screen.
yeah, back screen and back seat, just a much improved vehicle. So what people did was they delayed their decision. That's called Osborne effect. When
Right.
they find out that the new product is going to be much better than the old one, and then they delay their purchases.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why, in my opinion, Tesla didn't really grow much last year.
Yep.
Um, and
I agree 100%.
yeah. And I think demand for the new Model Y is going to be extremely high. I think the upper limit for the new Model Y, and I don't think Tesla will be able to deliver this right away, is like 3 million per year,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
just based off of the size of the
Right.
SUV market, and it's kind of a crossover.
Yep.
But it's just a very good vehicle. I love my old Model Y. I'm gonna get a new one. So I'm gonna lease the new Model Y and got one on order. Excited about that. Um, but the production's coming way down. We think this is gonna greatly hurt Tesla's earnings for the quarter. We don't think it'll shift them into a loss, but it I'm guessing it'll be less than 50 cents a share in
Okay.
earnings potentially.
Mhm.
So it's gonna sting a bit. And the I'd say like the concern on a temporary basis is people just aren't going to have the context because, despite this being a major shift, Wall Street did not talk about this on their earnings call.
Right.
They didn't ask management about it, even though, Wall Street tends to be short term, and this is like the biggest issue over the short term for Tesla. So people are going to be kind of blindsided by it.
And this could be, I mean, the headlines are that this is part of the reason we're seeing a little pullback right now.
Yeah, is people
It's
are
starting to
likely
get
starting to realize this. And what confirms this is, we have Alex Voigt is he's big into following Tesla in Germany, and he's pretending like this drop is for, political reasons or something. Um, it's not. It's the Model Y changeover. If you
you
don't
know,
have the cars to sell, you you
being
can't sell them.
being that he's a liberal, by the way, it wouldn't have anything to do with the fact that he doesn't want to admit that Germany's in a recession right now, literally in a recession.
Well, the rest of their EV industry was up over 50%, but they didn't change over their model like the
Right,
Model Y.
right.
So
Okay, so we might be down on car sales, but there is this other part of the Tesla business called energy, which you're supposed to be some kind of expert or something on that. I, I can, so let's just talk about Lathrop because I don't think Shanghai is going to have a big impact on the first quarter. It might have an impact. We could be
mhm.
talking about a few dozens of units that get shipped out or whatever, maybe 100 units out of Shanghai before the end of March. But what about Lathrop? My analysis, and I think you and I have even agreed on this a couple of weeks ago, between Lathrop's supposed 10,000 units a month, a year rather,
Yeah, a year, yeah.
year, um, and the power walls, we should be able to deploy about 13,000 uh, mega mega
Gigawatt hours.
hours. Gigawatt hours per quarter if everything was smooth and if we were maximizing.
Right.
We've never hit 13. And they talk about it being lumpy. We were down a little last quarter. Couldn't we have a 14 number or a 15 even this next quarter?
I I don't think so. I think that like the awareness of the Powerwall 3 just isn't there. So it's selling well, but it's not, you're right, it's not selling to capacity. So I think that's been a little bit of a relative disappointment to the capacity Tesla has. It's a great product, the Powerwall 3 is, where you have the inverter there and it's all in one piece. So there's no separate box for the inverter and it's a much easier install and it's a great product. Um, and I think people just don't know about it. Things with solar have slowed down a little bit in the US. Powerwall 3 is a little heavier in the US. Um, but one thing I commented to you in the green room is we don't know for sure that Lathrop's maximum capacity is 10 gigawatt hours. Um, it might be 20. Now I don't think necessarily they suddenly do 15 or 18 out of Lathrop, without the Powerwall, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla is sandbagging about the capacity.
Okay. And is there
And,
any?
and I'll give you one little
Okay.
piece of
Okay.
evidence.
All
So
right. Okay.
let's think about Giga Shanghai. When we
Right.
first heard about Giga Shanghai, they said it could produce 150,000 Model 3s per year.
Right.
Well, the true capacity of that was 250 from
Right.
that line.
Right.
So they were understating it by
Sure.
like over 60%. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of situation like that with Lathrop, provided they can get the batteries and all that.
Yeah. So it could be a
Elon
battery.
did say they were battery
Right.
constrained.
Right. Okay. So while you don't think it'll happen this quarter, you could imagine a situation that even without Shanghai, just with Powerwalls and Lathrop, we could be looking at over 13 per quarter.
Hmm.
That could be maybe a 13 this quarter, it could be a 14, could be a 12. I mean, but we have this lumpiness because of the bookkeeping.
Yeah,
At some point, some of that bookkeeping's got to catch up. So the lumpiness doesn't always go down. The lumpiness
right.
goes up too. So this could be one of those quarters like the third quarter where we get a lumpiness that's higher rather than lower. That's all I'm saying. And that could make up some of the problem that you're seeing on the car side.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Okay.
unfortunately, it wasn't discussed on the call.